We got a Fox News alert for you. We just learned that Attorney General Pam Bondi has ordered her deputy AG to go meet with Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's former associate, in prison.
Todd Pyro joins us now with the latest. Hey, Todd.
Hey, good morning again, guys. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche saying the following, quote, President Trump has told us to release all credible evidence. If Ghislaine Maxwell has information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims, the FBI and the DOJ will hear what she has to say. I have communicated with counsel for Ms. Maxwell to determine whether she would be willing to speak with prosecutors from the department. I anticipate meeting with Ms. Maxwell in the coming days, end quote. Blanche also saying, quote, justice demands courage. For the first time, the Department of Justice is reaching out to Ghislaine Maxwell to ask, what do you know? FBI Director Kash Patel also signaling his support for the move, reacting online earlier saying, get it. Ghislaine Maxwell is the only associate held criminally or civilly liable in connection with the allegations against Epstein. President Trump called for grand jury transcripts to be unsealed, and the DOJ filed the motion for that on Friday. Back over to you.
All right.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you, Todd.
Epstein back in the headlines.
The Trump administration vowing more transparency regarding the infamous Epstein files. Now some lawmakers are counting on Maxwell to blow the case wide open. She is currently serving 20 years in federal prison.
All right, let's kick things off with our justice correspondent, David Spunt. He's got the very latest on this from Washington for us. So, David, how is Maxwell's legal team responding right now?
Well, Sandra, Maxwell's attorney says that Ghislaine Maxwell will tell the truth when spoken to by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. And in the same statement, the attorney praised President Trump for, quote, trying to get to the bottom of this. Now, AG Pam Bondi and her deputy Blanche made this surprising announcement on social media this morning. Blanche in active negotiations to meet Maxwell in prison. She's been in Florida, in Tallahassee, for 3 years. President Trump says he's okay with the meeting. Watch.
No concern. He's a very talented person. He's very smart.
He's talking about Todd Blanche. Blanche said in a statement, the Department of Justice does not shy away from uncomfortable truth, nor from the responsibility to pursue justice wherever the facts may lead. The joint statement by the DOJ and FBI of July 6th remains as accurate today as when it was written, namely that in the recent thorough review of the files maintained by the FBI in the Epstein case, no evidence was uncovered that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. The president has told us to release all credible evidence. If Ghislaine Maxwell has information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims, the FBI and the DOJ will hear what she has to say. Ghislaine Maxwell talked to the previous DOJ and lost her case. She's serving that 20-year federal prison sentence in Florida, convicted of aiding sexual predator Jeffrey Epstein by bringing underage girls to him over the years. She was sentenced, as I said, in 2022 and has been behind bars since. Now, this keeps the Epstein story, one that President Trump and the administration wanted to go away, in the headlines. But officials now feel they are in the driver's seat. Trump has recently said, the Attorney General, as you see him there with her on March 14th, he says that she could release any credible evidence. Now they want to talk to Maxwell to see if she has anything credible to say. Here's what her attorney says, quote, Ghislaine will always testify truthfully. We're grateful to President Trump for his commitment to uncovering the truth in this case, end quote. But remember, critics are already pointing out that she's behind bars and clearly wants out of prison. No word, though, yet when that meeting is scheduled to take place. Back to you.
All right. David Spunt there in Washington on that for us. Obviously a sign of potentially a new direction in all of this, John.
And you wonder what kind of a deal is Ghislaine Maxwell and her attorneys going to try to cut in order for Todd Blanche to come and spend some time with her in prison and for her to answer his questions. Is she just looking for some perks in prison, or is she looking for some kind of a deal? I don't know.
That will be a very interesting meeting coming up.
Back to our top story now. The U.S. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says he wants to meet in person with Ghislaine Maxwell. She is in federal prison for aiding Jeffrey Epstein, and the House Oversight Committee has just voted to subpoena Maxwell, compelling her to appear for a deposition. Joining us now is the former Deputy Assistant Attorney General John Yoo. John, good to be with you. President Trump was asked about this a moment ago when he was with the president of the Philippines in the Oval Office. This is what he said about Todd Blanche going to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell. Listen here.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt.
What do you think of the whole idea? Because certainly you would think, as close as she was to Jeffrey Epstein, that she holds the keys to the kingdom.
John, good to be with you. This is a remarkable step. The Deputy Attorney General does not go around meeting with federal inmates or even meeting with people who might turn state's evidence in ongoing cases. So this is a sign of how serious the Trump administration thinks this is, how worried they are that trust in the administration is eroding, is that they got to call out the really big guns to get involved, like the Deputy Attorney General. On the other hand, you have to ask, how much does Ghislaine Maxwell know anymore? If she had all this information, the time she would have used it was when she was trying to reach some kind of plea bargain with the government to avoid the very jail time she's in now. However, if there's anybody who might still be at the center of a conspiracy, who might have knowledge of all the people who went to Epstein's Island, anybody who might have been blackmailed by Epstein, it would still be Maxwell. She's the only one, I think, who's left.
Yeah, I mean, again, she was literally attached to him at the hip. You would think that she would know just about everything that he was doing. Now, in terms of her cooperating with the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, do you think she would just say, oh, sure, let's talk? Or would she say, what are you going to give me in exchange for me talking?
Of course not, John. She is going to press for the best deal she can get. Now, she's already serving a sentence in federal prison, but the president can commute a sentence. The president could even give her a pardon. I don't think a pardon would be warranted, but the president could say, in exchange for your cooperation, I will order a reduction in your sentence so you could get out earlier than promised. But she would really need to come across with the goods. She's also got a case. Her case is actually still pending right now at the Supreme Court. I believe the Justice Department is opposing the Supreme Court taking her case. Her case is not the kind that the Supreme Court would take, but she might also ask that the Justice Department drop its opposition to her appeal to the Supreme Court. I can't see the Justice Department doing that, but she's going to try to trade whatever information she has for less time in jail.
Well, a grant of clemency certainly would be a controversial thing. Congressman Tim Burchett was talking earlier today about this idea that Pam Bondi has asked a federal judge in New York to unseal all of the documents and testimony before a grand jury. This is what he said.
I applaud the president and Attorney General Bondi for wanting to release the grand jury files. I believe that'll pretty much cover everything. But I would give everybody a caveat, or that's a big word, but a warning that just because somebody flew on a plane doesn't mean they're a dadgum pedophile.
Yeah, it was Burchett, actually, who introduced the motion in the House to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell. What do you think we could discover if the grand jury testimony and the files are released? Now, I should say that there's a bit of a caveat here from the judge involved in the case. I've got his order right here before me. This is Judge Richard Berman. We've heard his name before. He said Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 6E codified the practice, quote, older than our nation itself, that proceedings before a grand jury shall generally remain secret. So if he releases all this stuff, it's going to be a pretty rare occasion.
And John, this would be momentous. It would also be, I think, unlikely to happen in full. The reason why we don't release grand jury testimony, the reason we don't rely raw law enforcement files is because they are filled with innuendo, rumor, gossip, massive amounts of things that are unverified, possibly untrue. And so when the government speaks, it usually only speaks in the four corners of the indictment, the documents it produces in court. And so one thing we don't want to do in all this is to besmirch people's reputations, destroy reputations, but also we want to make sure that people are willing to cooperate with the government in the future. Witnesses are not going to appear and not going to voluntarily testify if someday the government might release everything they said. So there's got to be a careful balance here between privacy, between the needs of the Justice Department in the future to carry out prosecutions, but also getting to the bottom of the truth about what's happened with this Epstein scandal.
Yeah, and the judge refers to that in the order as well. I expect anything that comes out could be heavily redacted, but we'll see. John, thanks for being with us. I always appreciate your expertise.
Breaking tonight, new measures to get additional information about the Jeffrey Epstein case. A top Justice Department official saying he will meet with Ghislaine Maxwell, who's in prison for her dealings with the convicted sexual predator. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says no lead is off limits. And now one congressional committee looks to take its own action. Correspondent Mark Meredith is on the North Lawn tonight with the latest. Good evening, Mark.
Brett, good evening to you. A lot of new developments in this story. Today, we saw the Trump administration announce it will send the Deputy Attorney General to meet with Ghislaine Maxwell in the days ahead. This as the White House, Congress, Justice Department are all trying to navigate a scandal that will not go away.
We're going to be talking about trade.
President Trump's trade meeting with the Philippine president was dominated by questions about other matters, including why the Justice Department now wants to meet with Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's longtime associate who's serving 20 years in a Florida federal prison.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do, yeah.
Do you have any concern that your Deputy Attorney General, who's your former attorney, would be conducting the interview, given...
No, I have no concern.
The news comes the same day House Speaker Mike Johnson cut the House session short to avoid votes about whether the government's Epstein files should be made public.
What we refuse to do is participate in another one of the Democrats' political games.
Democrats left town furious.
So you've got this Epstein issue affecting congressional operations.
The Republican-controlled House Oversight Committee voted today to soon subpoena Maxwell. Additional action is expected after the August recess. The summer break allows the White House to pivot to the economy as it works to secure new trade deals with both the EU and China. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says he'll meet with Chinese officials next week.
I think we've actually moved to a new level with China where it's very constructive.
This week, European leaders are focused on both trade and Tehran. U.S. allies will meet with Iranian officials in Turkey to talk about its nuclear program, something Iran's foreign minister said on Special Report last night it has no plans to abandon.
We cannot give up our enrichment because it is an achievement of our own scientists.
Trump posted on social media, future strikes against Iran are possible, writing, "We'll do it again if necessary." Late today, the U.S. announcing it has reached new trade agreements with both Indonesia and the Philippines, whose leader was here today. Both countries expected to still face 19% tariffs on products that they'll send into the United States. The president says he's open to going to Asia fairly soon, including a potential stop in China. Brett?
Mark Meredith, live in the North Lawn. Mark, thank you.
Here to break this all down, Jonathan Turley, George Washington University law professor. All right, Jonathan, the story keeps getting more and more interesting. What do you think about this idea of the Justice Department sitting down with her? She's obviously in prison right now. How would that go?
Well, there's a certain degree of emergency management going on here. The administration wants to show the public it's doing everything it can to release any information that might still be withheld. The problem is that some of us are rather skeptical that there is something significant with Maxwell being withheld. If so, the expiration date on this milk ran a long time ago. I mean, she's been interviewed repeatedly by the Justice Department. She's had interactions with other legal teams. It would be very surprising if she was holding on to something that was a game changer. But the problem is that this is the type of scandal that the public simply is skeptical of getting the interpretation of evidence as opposed to the evidence itself. The only thing that's likely to quell some of these doubts is near total transparency.
Well, Jonathan, you kind of see what's going on here. One of these Epstein so-called victims, is making accusations about Trump. And last night was showcased on CNN. Watch.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me on, Aaron. I really appreciate it because I need to say up front that I've waited 3 decades to be able to even be heard.
Now, Jonathan, this is an important note. 2 years ago, one of my producers booked her on actually Jesse's show and spoke with her attorney for 6 months before that. But at no point during any of those conversations or during her interview with Jesse was Trump mentioned. But she was waiting 3 decades to tell her story? That does not make any sense.
That's right, and this is well plowed over ground. I mean, you've had state and federal investigators all over this. Many of them were quite motivated when it came to Donald Trump. And so once again, there's a healthy degree of skepticism here that after all of that prior work, there's a smoking gun laying on the table. We'll have to see. But quite frankly, the move by Congress is probably going to be the most promising for the public. It might allow the public to hear directly from someone like Maxwell, but I'm not expecting anything significant after all of these years.
Well, I don't think there's going to be any satisfying people who have their doubts one way or another. I think it's like the kind of thing, the more you feed the public, the more they think, oh, no, I can't believe that. Well, she's obviously lying there. Everyone wants to see this the way they want to see it. That's my view. Jonathan, as always, thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.